Good evening, everyone. We will start our Nishta class with our Shanti Mantra. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Harihi Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavaghay Tejasvinha Tamastu Ma Vidvishavaghay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Good. So the last class ended with a question about Shraddha, and we did explain. So we will begin this class with a few comments on Shraddha, and then I would request you all to keep your questions ready, and we can, whoever has some questions, we can discuss today. So mentally frame your question, keep it ready, so that we can have a clear and a useful, focused discussion. This Shraddha is a very interesting word. It is not just with the teacher, generally with every domain of life. We need a certain kind of Shraddha. That's why in Bhagavad Gita there is a famous shloka, no? Agnyascha ashraddhadanascha samshayatma vinashyati. There is a sloka. The one with ignorance and without Shraddha, that doubting self will be destroyed. Vinashyati. Just like how in that other shloka where, buddhinashat pranashyati, there is a shloka where when a person goes down the spiral of desire and anger, etc., and one who loses his judgment and understanding, destroys oneself. The same concept of destroying oneself comes here also. Samshayatma vinashyati. The person will not have any sukha, or any peace or happiness or joy in this life or in the life hereafter after death, in the sense about Shurga, etc. So in both cases, destruction of the self is explained by Shankaracharya ji in the commentary and others. Destruction of the self means what? Because we study that self is indestructible, right? Self is indestructible, where the fire cannot burn it, the knife cannot cut it, water cannot wet it, etc. Unborn, eternal self. Yeah. Sachidanandatma and all that. But then what do they mean by destruction of self? Here it means the individual, the jiva, the vijnanamaya. What is the destruction of the self? Is nothing but unable to actualize a goal in life. Goal in life also includes the goal after life, spiritual goals, etc. They are also included in goals. So the person becomes incapable of pursuing a purushartha. That's how they define destruction of a person. If you look at yourself, whenever you are constantly in doubt, this or that, this or that, this or that, you will not be able to take a course of action, because this Shraddha is extremely important for our current scenario, for our current and for the future, because ours is the age of information revolution, information. As much as access to information being very easy and available for everybody, As much as it has advantages, it also has its disadvantages. In certain contexts, it has more disadvantages than advantages, because excessive information for an anadhikari means a person who is not at the appropriate state of mind or maturity to grasp the information in the right spirit with which the information has to be grasped. For example, you have this child control. You have these filters, child filters in search engines. It will say strict, moderate, media, mild search controls, child controls off. Right? You have the search controls. So if you put strict, it is okay for children to see the results. You will not get inappropriate results flashing on the screen and all that. We know this. So why do they keep this? Why is there a restriction on information? Certain websites, if they have some sensitive content, violent content, or any obscene content, they will ask, "Are you 18 years old or not?" So YouTube will say, if you want to watch this video, you will have to sign in to be 18 years old because it has too much of violence or whatever, right? So why do they do that? So that is adhikari bheda. Adhikari bheda is the central point of our shastra, the shastric approach, the Vaidika dharma shastric approach to spiritual knowledge or to dharma, to everyday life choices, is completely based on adhikari bheda, and that is the kryptonite for most liberal thinkers, because this is not so nice on the inflated modern human postmodern human ego. Cannot swallow this adhikari bheda, because it's like you telling a child, "Oh, you cannot know that, now you are a kid." Then the child say, "No, I can understand, tell me." And also women, this is an some women cannot, they will say that they want you to tell them all the information. If you tell them the information, they can't handle it, and they will give you hell, but they will want to know. So this is a constant problem in many families, we know that. Similarly with children, right? So the person, the elder, let us take the context of children because it's less controversial, and poor kids won't come back and fight, but women will kill me. So we will consider the children. So the adult has to assume maturity. You may ask, there are exceptions in every case. You can always do vidandavad. You can always say there are so many contexts where children exhibit much more maturity, kindness, and empathy than all the adults. You can give an argument, it's completely valid. You can see that children display phenomenal maturity. For example, in resolution of conflicts, if you choose two kids fighting and then parents fight over their kids fighting, the parents will be fighting for 1 year. Within 2 hours, the kids will be, they will reconcile and they'll be playing together. It'd be like, a slap on the face of the adults. So children are very mature when it comes to certain things, and that is why even uh, Jivan Mukta is sometimes described as a childlike, Balavat. Jivan Mukta is described like that. But that argument is not valid in our context of discussion. In our context of discussion, the adult has to assume the responsibility and censor the information and present only what is appropriate for the child according to certain standard formats. Otherwise, it is called as bad parenting. Okay, so this everybody accepts. Now, like I told you, there is a counter argument that children are mature, but that any common sense oriented person will know that that argument does not apply here. Just like this example, for so many things, this adhikari bheda, the qualification or the aptitude for the right kind of knowledge or the practice or an activity, is to be taken from the standard, and the standard is the Dharma Shastra. So the Dharma Shastras give you the standard that whether this is okay or not, and the Sampradaya, the tradition. Because there has been a lot of trial and error, and they are very clear what works and what not doesn't work, and it is based on centuries and millenniums of uh, accumulated experience that has been passed on, plus very sophisticated and logically consistent, uh, extremely sound body of knowledge with so many variables taken into account. So the Shastric knowledge is not a joke. It's not some kind of a codified set of, somebody writes some 10 lines in a tablet and then tells you this is in a stone tablet. These are the 10 cardinal rules that everybody has. It's not so simplistic like that. So when it comes to Vedic wisdom, it's extremely sophisticated. And then there is a huge tradition of interpretation where they take care to preserve the methodology of interpretation. And it changes from sampradaya to sampradaya. They take care of the method of desha kala patra, where, by, for whom, in what context, for what purpose. All that is taken care. So it's a very sophisticated system. So Shraddha has to be there first for the source of knowledge. So if you really understand where this whole validity, where the demand for Shraddha comes, because if I am not having my Shraddha, if not in the if not in the absolute validity of the information, at least I must have Shraddha for the temporary relevance of the knowledge or information given to me. Some things are relevant for a certain period of time in our life. The same thing may be outdated or irrelevant or even counter relevant in a later stage in our life. So what is a diet for a child may not be an appropriate diet for an adult. So the amount of sugar and fat a child can take or should take may not be relevant. Similarly, when you come to Ayurveda, you have Vata, Pitta, Kapha, the different prakritis, the bodies. What is recommended for one person is not recommended for the other. Same when it comes to different seasons, what food is recommended in one season is prohibited in another season. So we have this which time, which place, for whom, in what context, what purpose. So all that is there. So when we have a problem with an information in a source of information, we have to somehow arrive at a workable level of Shraddha where we adopt the knowledge and start working on it. I would call it as a critical level of a workable level of Shraddha is required if we want to achieve certain goals. In anything, we need to achieve. So when we go to a dentist, we have complete Shraddha. There is a possibility that the anesthesia may not work. There is a possibility that the dentist's hand may shake when he is applying a drill on your during the root canal treatment. Right? It can hit the wrong nerve and you can die. If you go with the possibilities, there is a if you go to a salon for shaving, the guy has a huge razor. Imagine when the razor is in your neck, he gets a sudden fit, epileptic attack. What happens to your neck? Possibilities are a little earthquake or somebody falling on the chair. The guy from the next chair loses balance and falls on your barber, and the knife cuts your neck. So like this, if I start imagining and projecting and doubting every scenario, you cannot even have a haircut. You cannot even get a shave in a salon. You cannot even put a morsel of food in your mouth. For example, every time I put a morsel of food in my mouth, I put with the faith that it is going to go into my stomach and not into my windpipe. And still, there have been occasions where people have choked with some food particle in their windpipe, and they could not get that food out, and they have choked to death. There are occasions like that, or at least it is an inconvenience. you cough and you can make a mess on a very formal uh, business lunch or something, where it's a very crucial moment, right? So anything can happen. See, if you want to look at what things, if you want to doubt, we can doubt every little scenario in our life at every point in the day. No matter how secure, there is always a loophole, right? So uh, we can be careful. See, there is a limit for, we all have to be careful. That doesn't mean we have to be reckless. So it is a fine balance between recklessness and carefulness, where for every little thing in my life, I don't have to be extremely careful, like they're transporting the president of United States, right? At the same time, I cannot be completely reckless like a drunkard. So there is a workable level of attention to certain factors that we need to give. Similarly, there is a workable level of faith that we have. So we have a hope and a faith that this is going to end up well. That's why we are able to even drink a glass of water. So we have to really sit and think about this. The same thing applies to spirituality. The same thing applies to yoga. The same concept applies to the various practices that we give, the various concepts and the values that the Shastra prescribes, and the injunctions and prohibitions. Also, the teaching methodology. It first they will reveal the highest truth, and it will shake up your foundation, and it will not make sense at all. Then the whole teaching methodology comes, where you understand it in the right way. And then there is a summary or winding up of the whole thing, and they'll give you a summary and make you understand. And you, and then after that, it looks like your life is back to how it was, but something is different. There is a huge transformation inside. Right? So it is a process. The teaching, spiritual learning is a process. Inner growth through the process of yoga is a process. So what we have to do, what we need for Nishta, one of the main qualities we need Shraddha is, for the time being, if you have a problem with faith, because I understand that we are in Kali Yuga, there is a lot of inconsistency in every department. There is inconsistency in medicine. The pharmaceutical company takes the doctor for a ride, takes the patient for a ride. The doctor takes the patient for a ride. He spends huge money for getting that medical degree, and then he has to earn it. If the doctor is working for a private hospital with a five-star private hospital, then the doctor has a target on his head. In the sense, he has to make sure that so many MRI scans are done. So because of the commercial thing, the establishment has to get back its money on investment. So the doctor takes you for a ride. Education is business, takes you for a ride. Defense procurements, where the soldiers put their life on the line for saving the country, they get faulty equipment because some deal was done through some politician, and then the cannon doesn't work, the rifle doesn't work, the bulletproof jacket doesn't work, the medicines are all expired. Once they found in the army medical depot that so many of the medicines were very close to expiry date, and they were shipped to the army medical corps for a very subsidy, and there was some corruption there. They found it. So there are areas where you cannot afford to be inconsistent or corrupt or cheating, and in those areas we see that is exactly the nature of Kali Yuga. And there is absolutely no doubt that in the spiritual domain, religious and spiritual domain, you are going to see the same level of quality of corruption, the same level of proportion of mixture of lies and truth and cheating and all that, inconsistencies. You're going to see that in spirituality, in yoga, in Vedanta, in Vedic rituals, everywhere. Because if this is a certain period, what we call as Kali Yuga, for example, this time period, there is a certain proportion of dharma and adharma, and that proportion, like an average, is going to show in every domain of life. And the spiritual domain, let us say the moksha market, just for the sake of making it lighter, is also run by people. So why should the spiritual domain be an exception, and whoever is in the spiritual domain has to be perfect? They will not be perfect. There will be inconsistencies, there will be corruption, there will be lies, there will be cheating, there will be unprofessionalism, just like in every other domain of life, like in every domain of knowledge, in like just like in every profession, you will have here also, because this is also run by humans, and the humans are from the current age where the certain proportion of adharma is given. So this is a part of life. So what I am asking, so it is completely justified if you say that you don't have complete shraddha. It is totally justified, but you also have to understand progress is impossible without shraddha. So what we have to do, we have to sit and think and brainstorm with the teacher, or if you don't have confidence with the teacher, with your fellow students, or somebody who is your confidant, who is a little bit mature than you, a little bit more experienced than you, whom you have a feeling that you can trust this person, or you have some online research. All with all that, somehow arrive at a limit of this much I can handle, this much of shraddha, faith I can handle, and trust, faith and trust and confidence in my teacher, in the school, in the system, I can handle. And you have to see, so with this much shraddha, I can arrive up to this point of learning, I can arrive up to this point of maturity and inner growth. So you come there, and then you recheck, and during this process, you would have gathered more information, you would have gathered more experience, and you would have gathered more understanding about the source of teaching, your teacher and the school and the system, the tradition and everything. And then you can revisit your shraddha and then see, so can I raise the bar, or can I have to lower the bar, or I have to move somewhere else? So like this, we can always arrive at, this is a very easy thing, and it is very uh, workable solution. It allows you to grow. So if you're going to wait for the perfect master to it, like this so-called Babaji of Himalayas, you read all these novels like autobiography of Yogi, you get this fancy. I was also having the same fancy. So you get a fancy that, some great Siddha, Yoga Siddha Guru is going to, land on your room as a body of light, and he's going to initiate you into some Kundalini or whatever. This kind of fancy, every guy who goes to Himalayas, every guy who starts his spiritual retreat, every person, almost every person gets it. If you don't get it, you are extremely rare, lucky person to have a good level of maturity to start with. But yeah, that's all right. But if you're going to wait for that, the higher probability is that it's not going to happen. I will not say it will never happen. It can happen, but it is extremely, extremely rare. And it's like, you're going to have a feast in 10 days from now. But for the sake of the, so for the sake of that feast, you are not eating from today. Starting today, you will not eat, because after 10 days, you'll have a feast. It's something like that. So even if that Siddha Guru comes, let us say you are in front of a waterfall of mineral water. Okay. How much can you drink? You can only drink as much as you are thirsty. Similarly, no matter who is the teacher, you can only absorb to the level that you are mature and to the level you are qualified. If those masters, those great masters, can, the perfect masters of wherever you want, of the interior Himalayas or whatever, uh, these masters who live in the body of light, all these siddhas and all that, if they can take the initiative to solve the problem of spiritual growth, to solve your or my spiritual growth by themselves, by the power of their own tapasya, if they can liberate you, they would have liberated the entire humanity by now. You think they don't have that much love? If not at least a sizable amount, but it doesn't happen. So even disciples of the great masters, they have problems, they have issues, they fight with each other, things go wrong for them, right? So even that happens. Their master would be like a great siddha with all the ashtasiddhis, but still he will not solve the problem because that will not lead to the true inner growth. So what we do is we see what is available. So when you want to learn yoga, when I want to learn uh, the Vedic philosophy, when I want to learn Vedanta, when I want to understand the Advaitic vision, or when I want to practice some japa and some kind of tapasya, etc., in order to increase my inner spiritual uh, tuning and well-being, etc., I have to see what is available. I have to see, is it accessible? Is it affordable? Affordable not only in terms of money, affordable in terms of discipline. Can I keep up with what that practice demands of me? Can I keep up with that? If I can keep up with that, great. If I cannot keep up with that, then I will have to choose what I can manage. Right? Let us say you read a yogic text called Giranda Samhita. In Giranda Samhita, it talks about Nadi Shuddhi Pranayama, the 142, gradually increasing it to 16, 64, and 32 with the bandhas and mudras and everything. It's there. Now that pranayama is recommended to be done 20 in the sunrise, 20 in the midday, 20 in the sunset, 20 at midnight, with a very strict diet and everything. And if the person does that, in 3 to 6 months, the person will achieve perfect knowledge. Great. Let us say you take a 6 months off and do this practice. Now, after you get the perfect knowledge, you will come back to the world. You cannot live the same life that you live. You cannot. You cannot just simply go anywhere and everywhere in public transport. You cannot, uh, you know, you will be extremely sensitive to so many things. It is like, the in the yogic scriptures, there is a beautiful example given. In our body, we have skin in various places. So we have skin, in the sole of our feet. Soles of our feet is also skin. The palm is also skin. I can rub my palm against, there is some dust on the floor. I can rub it and remove the dust. I can hit my soles of the feet and smash some, I can smash a nut or something, all that. Now the skin is also on my eyelids. Can my eyelids do what the skin in my palm can do? Can the inside of my eye, so if there is a little stone in my hand, if I step on a stone, up to a certain point, my foot can take it. I say, oh, there's a stone, and then I will remove. But imagine a very small speck of dust particle falling in your eye. It irritates you and it can completely ruin your whole, whatever you are doing at that moment of time. It can completely ruin your activity, it can ruin your mood. Until you take that little speck of dust out of your eyes, you cannot relax. It irritates and it takes so much of your psychological space, and it disturbs so much of the comfort zone. But how it is able to do that? It is because that little speck of that dust fell inside your eye. Even if I throw a whole, you know, uh, a handful of clay on your foot or in some other part of the body, you can just wipe it away and keep going, and it will not disturb you so much. So it is about the sensitivity. So they say the yogi who has undergone the process of purification through the process of yoga is like a child, is sensitive. The mind is so pure, it is sensitive like the skin inside your eye. Even a speck of dust disturbs it so much. So what is taken for granted for a normal common person cannot be, it can be a huge source of stress for a yogi, because the sensitivity is increased so much in order to develop the high discernible intelligence that is required to exercise the viveka between atma and anatma. in order to arrive at that intuitive experience of the difference between the self and the mind, the Viveka Khyati, in order to arrive at that, the whole purification process has been going on. If you want to put it in the Vedanta, in order to, the self is considered as the subtler than the subtlest. So, in order to understand the true import of the Mahavakya, the Twampada, the Tatpada, Twampada, and all that, when you do that Vichara, so in order for the knowledge to truly take root and translate into Paravairagya or Akhandakara Vritti, a certain level of purity of mind is required. And for that, if a person goes through the process of yoga in a certain way, it will demand a certain quality of lifestyle. It will demand a certain quality of life. It will demand that uh, that certain things are okay in terms of diet, in terms of clothing, in terms of company, in terms of outside exposure, and it will demand that you very clearly get rid of certain aspects of your life, and you don't go into those areas, and you don't allow those, because life is like a beautiful painting with so many colors. So uh, you know all the colors are relevant. It's like a huge abstract painting. So whatever is there is relevant, but what is relevant for me at this point of time, that is a different question altogether. Everything is relevant in its own place in the big picture, but what is relevant for me at this period of time, for this purpose, at this place, at this period of time in my life, that requires a proper, what I said as desha kala patra. So that requires a proper analysis, understanding, and that requires the help of shastra, interpreted by the right teacher who knows how to interpret, who is interpreting it in line with the tradition. And also, sir, there are certain axioms that you don't question, like the pramanatvam of the Veda, like the validity of the tradition, the Shastra. Those things you don't question because they are like axioms. If you question that, you will end up nowhere. You will be in a kind of a postmodernist spirituality. Like they have this postmodernism in normal social values. You will be in a postmodernist kind of a scenario in your spiritual understanding, and you will not be able to pursue and really actualize a goal, because you can keep on doubting. You can keep on doubting. If you take a path A, then I doubt whether it is okay or not. Maybe path B is better. Then I am in path B. I will be asking, maybe this is not better. Maybe path C is better. So you will constantly be questioning one after the other, and you will never arrive at a decision making point where you start something and start following and start doing and start applying yourself in that direction, and which is the only way in which you can arrive at any kind of goal. So shraddha becomes absolutely essential in order for you to lock yourself in a certain direction of progress for any achievable result in time, and for not wasting the precious human life that has been given to us, because our time is limited. You don't have infinite time. Your time is limited, your resources are limited, your capacity is limited. So because of that, it is very important to make a choice and move on with the choice. And then maybe you can, after you arrive at something, after you gather some experience, after we gather some discipline, after we are to get more together as a person, after we achieve certain things, then we can re-question our priorities, re-question our fundamentals, and then create another working model of shraddha for the next goal. And then you can re-evaluate. By the time uh, we will be ready to make a wiser decision, a more informed decision. And because of applying ourselves constantly through the discipline and through self control or whatever that we have achieved with shraddha, because when you have shraddha and you are pursuing towards a goal, every time when there is a challenge, you are going to question yourself according to the framework set up by your shraddha, right? So the framework is more important than you. So the objective framework outside is more important than your likes and dislikes and your immediate preferences and your immediate comfort zone. So that is what exactly makes inner growth possible. So up to a certain point, you don't question whatever is your shraddha you have committed to, whatever shraddha you have, the working level of shraddha you have arrived at. Once you have decided that, don't question for a certain period of time and question only your conclusions and place the shraddha more important as my own conclusion, more important than my own conclusion. And then I proceed in the direction. So having done that for a certain period of time gives me a certain kind of inner freedom and maturity that allows me to ask the right kind of questions, that allows me to use the right kind of logic to analyze a certain situation, and that helped me to arrive at a better quality of shraddha for my next venture. So once, for example, once you have accepted somebody as a mentor, you have to give some time, 1 year, 2 year I am giving for that. It's like I enroll into a college. If I enroll into a college, there are some things that I will like or I will not like in any college. No matter where you join, you're going to have things that you like, you don't like. But until you finish your course, you don't question the decision. First year you question the decision, you change your college. Then again start from first year. You question the decision, you change another course. You will always be in your first year graduation. You will never graduate. So 3 years you have to go through the grind, and only then you will graduate. Similarly, once you have accepted a mentor, once you have accepted a certain school of thought, a school of discipline, a school of spirituality, go through the process. Give yourself time, like 1 year, 2 year, whatever is a reasonable amount of time that makes sense. Arrive at it, and to up to that time, you question yourself. You don't question the system. You don't question the teacher. You don't question the method, unless there are some. You can always discuss it. You can always discuss it if the teacher is mature enough. You can always discuss with the teacher the difficulties that you have and see how the solutions are going. Unless there is some threat to life, or there is some you know there is going to be a very irreversible, huge upside down change in your way of life and your family life and things like that. No, the main cardinal things in our life, in your profession, like whole thing can change upside down. Unless there is a scenario like that, you don't have to really question your decision. For normal everyday stuff like diet or practices or discipline or reading some text material or you learning some new topic, and these kind of things, and taking some vows of discipline. For these kind of things, you don't have to question your shraddha. Keep the shraddha and question your decision and follow the system. So that would be a workable amount of shraddha. So the concept of arriving at a optimal, critical, workable level of shraddha that is required for the purpose of inner growth in the domain of spiritual knowledge and practice. So with that, I will open the floor to some questions, if any. It seems that Shraddha is challenging at this modern time for the most. How to find that one Shraddha is genuine? And also, what are the signs of a genuine teacher? Hmm. Any teacher for any domain of knowledge has to have a system of knowledge, has to have a system of teaching and knowledge, must have a methodology. And that methodology ideally should have some quality controls, like it should have some backing, provided it should have some institutional backing, like a school of thought, like it should have some history of being proven to be effective. So that whatever is the methodology the teacher is using, if it has some history, I would say that it is a little more reliable. Somebody comes with something absolutely new, then we have to map it against certain standards that we have. For example, in yoga, there are certain broad principles that are given in the yogic scriptures. Broad principles. I'm not going into very minute points, just broad principles. So that those principles have to be honored in whatever is this modern new thing that has coming. A simple thing like non-violence, for example. Let us say non-violence is an absolute value, right? let us say speaking the truth. It's easier speaking the truth. Now, if somebody cannot say, I am starting a new system of yoga where speaking lies is a virtue, right? Cannot. So speaking truth is a certain natural virtue. Everybody has respect for truth. Nobody wants to be lied to. So it's a simple common sense value that has been elevated to a great virtue status. So, like this, how this is not possible. Similarly, there are some practical, technical points which are not to be violated. So, those things we can always check. There are all the knowledge is available now with Google. You get everything. So, you can always check if somebody is a Hatha Yoga teacher. Go to the Hatha Yoga text and check if the teacher takes care of certain basics. If the method of teaching takes care of certain basics, go do the check yourself. Do some research. And the teacher, does he have another teacher? Does that teacher have another teacher? Some kind of tradition is there. And you can also observe if that teacher is able to practice what he teaches, he or she teaches. If there are exceptional situations, then you can always confront the teacher. And when you confront the teacher, is the teacher able to give you a satisfactory reply? These kind of things, the basic, just apply your common sense. You when you go to a restaurant to have something, you apply your common sense and do the check. You see if it is clean. There are some standards that which you apply. So you apply the same standards. Use your common sense and use your basic logical reasoning to see if the teacher is sensible enough. And then you look for a tradition. So that way, it is likely to have more consistency, and you will not have any uh, what do you call as a philosophical, what I call as a philosophical emptiness or a philosophical shallowness. The teachings and the approach will not be philosophically shallow. There will be a certain depth and consistency to the whole concept, and every concept will have its reasoning and the right place. And there will be backing in the main scriptures that are dealing with the topic. So you can always find a reference. If there is a technique or a method, the teacher must be able to tell you that this is based on that principle. So why the teacher is telling you something, the teacher should know, not some random stuff. If it is a random stuff, the teacher should be self. It's a random thing that just came to me. Let's try it out, and it will be open for correction and modification, right? But the random thing also will be based on some principle. As you practice, you will know what principle it is based on. So that is about the teacher, and how to find if one shraddha is genuine. The cardinal test to find the genuineness of one's own shraddha is how you are thinking and behaving, both how you are thinking and behaving when faced with a challenging situation where the shraddha demands that you do something, but your inner preference demands that you do something else. That is your likes or dislikes, your conditioning, whatever is you are habituated to, what you like to know, what is more pleasurable and comfortable for you, that demands that you do something else. And the pressure to do what is right according to the framework of the shraddha. And in that process, how much pressure I have. So if my pressure is too high, my shraddha needs working on, and I need to, the higher the pressure, the more importance I give for my shraddha. That is, if it is very difficult for me to follow a certain rule and I have a huge disagreement, then I have to follow the rule and see how that rule generates its effect inside me. So I have to question my likes and dislikes at the action level. So sitting and talking won't work. The higher the pressure, throw yourself into action. Lesser the pressure, maybe some discussion can help. If your pressure is less, it's a little bit here and there, and somehow I don't know, I can do it, but I prefer it the other way. Can I discuss it a little bit? And I would like to understand it a little more so that it feels more meaningful and I feel more motivated to do it. So in that context, so when you are questioning whatever is demanded of you according to Shraddha, if you question it, I have to question it in a way that helps me to understand what is the point of the rule, what is the point of the discipline, or what is the point of what the teaching says. That is, what is the point of me following the direction of my Shraddha versus following my own personal preference. So, what is the advantage? So, I am trying to give the benefit of doubt and try to understand the relevance of Shraddha with an intention to convince myself better. Right? So I am basically already decided. I decided for Shraddha, and the argument is for convincing myself. The argument is not for justifying my preferences. If I argue, see, if my commitment is to my preference and my commitment is not to my Shraddha, then the whole argument will justify this. Sometimes this is a good approach um, where we are aiming at arriving at a deeper level of conviction. It's called shaking the pillar logic. Stuna Nikumbana Nyaya, they say, where they question certain fundamentals. They'll counter argument, where, but that kind of shaking the pillar argument is usually conducted by the teacher, because the teacher knows where he is going. So he is going to ask you, suppose if I am very stuck with, if I am very stuck with some concept, let us say, do not eat food that is older than 3 hours after cooking. This is one rule. Okay. But some country medicine practice recommends that you cook the rice in the night, soak it in water, and have it in the morning. It is called morning rice. In Tamil, we say Pazhaya Sadam. Hello. Somebody's mic is on. Kindly mute your mic.
Decoration side பார்த்தேன் கோபுரம் மாதிரி பார்த்தேன் சென்டர்ல கேட்டு தாட்டி உள்ள போகும்போது இந்த ஸ்டெப் அவங்க வந்து பெருசுగా ఉంటారు సూపర్ అలంకారం చేసింటాం அந்த కార్ తీసుకొని పోయి వెళ్ళిపోతా ఉంది లైన్ కమ్మి ఉంది
Hello, can somebody switch off that mic, please?
Yes, sir, it is muted.
Right, thank you. So, right. The rice, morning rice. So there is one medicinal use for this soaked rice. This is 12 hours old, soaked inside water. After it is cooked, you have it in the empty stomach. It is very good for increasing your gut bacteria, improving your immunity, cooling down the excess heat, stabilizing vata, etc., etc. Right? Now, but this person is stuck with the fact that no, I should eat only the rice that is whatever is cooked. I should eat within 3 hours. So if the teacher sees that this is beneficial for you temporarily, he might question your your logic, your conclusion. You will shake your fundamentals, you will question your fundamentals and shake up your fundamentals in order to help you arrive at a more deeper and a broader kind of an understanding. So in order to facilitate a broad spectrum understanding, the teacher might use this approach to shake your fundamentals a little bit, so that you are able to broaden your perspective and understand things in the right context and not be stuck with a stigma or a taboo, or don't make everything into a taboo. For that purpose, the teacher might handle that. But as a student, you cannot do that. As a student, you will have to question in a way that you have a genuine intention to uh, understand the importance of Shraddha over my own personal preferences. So that would be the right approach for me as a student in uh, you know uh, in arriving at a better quality of Shraddha. And the genuineness of Shraddha can be found when I watch how much pressure I am feeling, psychological pressure I feel when I have to follow the Shraddha, the route of Shraddha against my own, when my Shraddha is challenging my personal preferences and comfort zones, and especially ego. There is a comfort zone with respect to your sensory activities. What I like to eat, what I like to smell, what I like to wear, all that. Where I like to go, what time I'd like to wake up, hot water, cold water, these kind of things. These are comfort zones, small stuff. But then it comes to ego, your identity, your family history, your birth. Uh, for example, one of the main things I noticed is a person who is born in a uh, non-Brahmin family, especially when you grow up in Tamil Nadu. There is a state called Tamil Nadu in South India. When you grow up there, you are exposed to a very toxic kind of separatist ideology. So when you are exposed to that, you are given this uh, anti-Brahmin, anti-Vedic sentiment. You are fed that from your childhood, from your school, from the society, and all that. So when there are some passages, then it comes, uh, it is Manushyattvam, Mumukshutvam, all that is in Vedanta, in Viveka Chudamani. It comes, Jantunam, Narajarma Durlavam, Atah Pumsam, Tato Viprata. So in that Viprata, it means it's such a rare thing to get a birth as a Brahmin and also to be able to study the Veda. It's there. That's the line very clear. Now, this can immediately create a huge inferiority complex for this person who is not born in a Brahmin family. It's a very typical thing that happens in the spiritual circles, Vedanta Yoga circles. So, how am I handling that? So my Shraddha is for the Shastra. When the Shastra is telling something, I will have to understand it in the right spirit and I have to learn to look at myself more objectively. So, how objectively I am able to look at those things that define my ego, my ego status. How objectively I am able to look at that. That would be the top test for the quality of my Shraddha. And there are these little things that, if you are not, don't want to work at that level right now, you can work with your comfort zones regarding the preferences, food preferences, lifestyle preferences, certain values, social values, and things like that. So those things, when they are facing the challenge, then you can look at yourself, how much rebellion you have inside. And then if the rebellion is more, you devote yourself more into the action according to Shraddha and work with your rebellion. If the rebellion is not so much, just a little bit of itching inside your heart, or a little bit of teeth clenching, a little bit of anger, but you can still do what is demanded of you according to Shraddha, then you can use that. You can go through some discussions and try to arrive at a better conviction and a better quality of Shraddha. Yeah. Okay. So then we have one more here. Uh, uh, you said that the directions, Shraddha and Purushartha Nishchaya, very good, are not results of yoga practice, Chitta Shuddhi. If a samskara or learning Vedanta, etc., could you highlight how to earn punya? Wonderful. We can't change past actions. So what should I do from now to discover the direction? Fantastic. What I know is chanting mantras, regular japa on a special day, Guru Seva and Annadanam, etc. Excellent. So one of the main things to earn punya for the purpose of spirituality, for spiritual growth, is swadhyaya. So all that you mentioned here are fantastic. Guru Seva is excellent. Satsanga, Satsanga and Guru Seva are top. And regular japa is also very good. Japa comes under Swadhyaya. No? Pranavadi Pavitranam Japo Moksha Shastra Adhyayanam Va. That is Moksha Shastra Patanam Va. That is the definition of Shraddha. Sorry, that is the definition of Swadhyaya in Yoga Sutra commentary. So Swadhyaya means not self-study. Swadhyaya means study according to the tradition. Uh, Sushtup Madhyaya, that is basically you study according to the recommendations of the tradition, which includes two things. One is chanting of pure mantras, sattvic mantras, regular chanting of sattvic mantras, the japa prayer, unless otherwise your guru specifically for some reason, it is generally preferable not to go to tamasic mantras, like, there are these bhuta preta mantras, and there are these huge unless specifically indicated by your guru, you don't go into tamasic these bija mantras with prayogas and everything. That is all not required for most people. You generally go for sattvic mantras to get maybe a little bit rajasic mantras if you are too tamasic person, and this pavitra mantra, that promote more sattvic mind, promote better vairagya, better bhakti. This kind of mantra chanting, yes, plus regular study of Bhagavad Gita, if not Upanishads, at least Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, then comment with the right commentary, Shankaracharya commentary. If you are, if you are following what I am saying, then it is Shankaracharya commentary. If you are a very staunch Vaishnava, please go ahead with your Ramanuja commentary and all that. But some traditional commentary you have to study. The uh, Smriti Prasthana Bhagavad Gita with traditional commentary and some kind of Prakarana Granthas. All these texts that deal with moksha. You can also read about the life of saints and sages, like, the biographies about traditional masters. Shankar Digvijayam is there. Then there is this story of Sri Ramakrishna. You have story of Ramatirtha. You have story about various things. Akkamma Devi. In Tamil Nadu, you have stories about uh, Ramalinga Vallalar, Nyayanmas, Alvars. You have a lot of uh, stories about the lives of saints. Periya Puranam is that story about all the 63 Nyayanmas there. So we have all this. We have Ramayana, we have Bhagavad Gita, and of course we have the commentaries for the Upanishad, Prakarana Granthas like Panchadashi, etc., which is unfolded by a proper teacher who has studied the tradition. So you study like Bhagavatam is going on. In one of the classes you have, I saw that in School of Ancient Wisdom, you have a Bhagavatam class going on, Viveka Chudamani. So this comes under Swadhyaya. So Swadhyaya is equally important like Japa. It is not simply doing Guru Seva and Japa and not studying. No, it is Guru Seva, Japa, and studying of scriptures unfolded in the right way by the right teacher, which is Swadhyaya, is extremely important. As much as Japa and Seva are important. Uh, I wanted to highlight this because it is usually ignored. And generally, women tend to spend more time with Seva. They like a certain guru. They like the vibes. Women are, they are big time fans of good vibes and good feel. But while you give importance to feel good is important. It is important to be in the right vibrations, feel good. Guru Seva and all that is wonderful. But you should also give equal importance to study of Shastra, which keeps your clarity level and it tunes your mind. What they say is Swadhyaya Pratishtayam Ishtadevata Samprayoga. If you are established in proper study, it will lead you to your guiding divinity, your Ishtadevata, and also it will tune you more into the domain of Siddhas and Mahatmas, and you will get the right guidance at the right time. And you will somehow have the right, you will be able to make the right decision for the right issues. This kind of purity of the buddhi, awakening of the right samskara at the right moment for the right purpose. That is given by Swadhyaya, which is japa plus study. Okay. So that is a wonderful question. Thank you. It's an Anup Prashna, keeping in line with what we are discussing. So just remember, only one point I wanted to add to that is Japan special day. One more is Upavasa like Ekadashi, etc. Fasting. Fasting combined with Parayanam and Japa is very good. Along with all that, please add some proper systematic study. Prakarana Granthas, Smriti Prasthana Bhagavad Gita, and if you have the right maturity and the teacher, Shrutis like Upanishad, etc. The Moksha scriptures. So with that, we will conclude this session, and I am hoping for more participation and more discussions, fruitful discussions in the coming sessions. Om पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम तत्सत्। थैंक यू।
Thank you.